continents. There are 7 continents on our planet. These are Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Europe, Antarctica and Oceania or Australia. These 7 continents vary in size and population numbers. Today, we will look into the first continent, which is the largest of all. You may be knowing the name of the continent. It's our own mother continent. Our country, India, belongs to this continent. It is our own Asia. As you know, Asia is the largest continent on earth, which has 48 countries in Asia that are recognized by the United Nations. 2 of the Asian countries share part of their territory on the European continent. These countries are Russia and Turkey. More than 4.4 billion people live on this continent. Asia is thus the most populous continent. As we all know, Russia by land mass, even though roughly 40% of the country belongs to the European continent, is the largest country, and of course, China is the largest country by population. With more than 38 million inhabitants, Tokyo is the largest city and has the largest metropolitan area. This city has more inhabitants than the whole country of Canada. Maldives, one of the Indian Ocean country, is one of the smallest countries in the world and Asia's smallest country. It consists of 26 coral atolls, which in total consist of more than 1190 islands. Borneo in Southeast Asia is also the 3rd largest island in the world and the largest in Asia. These islands belongs to 3 countries, Malaysia and Brunei in the north, while Indonesia claims the southern part of the island. Borneo is home to the vast rainforest and many animals only live on this island, such as the Bornean orangutan. Yangtze River is the longest on the Asian continent. It is in China and is 6,300 meters or 3,915 miles long. Mount Everest, which is located in the Himalayan mountain ranges, is the highest mountains in the world with the highest peak 8,849 meters high. The Himalayas between Nepal and China are the world's highest mountains. The biggest lake is Caspian Sea. The coastal line is shared by 5 countries: Russia, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan and Iran. The lake is also among the deepest lakes in the world with a maximum depth of more than 1000 meters or 3,300 feet. Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, is located at the Caspian Sea. The Gobi Desert is the largest desert in Asia and the 5th largest desert in the world. This is a cold desert where the temperature can be very low and sometimes even snow can occur. In Asia, more than 2,300 languages are recognized. The most spoken language are Chinese and Hindi-Urdu languages. In Indonesia, 600 languages are spoken, and in the Philippines, over 100 languages. Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism and Confucianism are the main religions in Asia. So, we have learned about the first continent, and that is Asia. So, out of the 7 continents, according to the size, the next one is Africa. There are 54 countries in Africa and 9 territories with a total of more than 1.1 billion people living on the continent. The largest country of Africa is Algeria. The most populous country in Africa is Nigeria. Largest city is Lagos in Nigeria. With more than 21 million inhabitants, Lagos is also one of the biggest metropolitan cities in the world and is estimated to become the world's largest city by 2100. The smallest country is Seychelles, which is an archipelago, that means nation of islands in the Indian Ocean. On the African mainland, the smallest country is the Gambia. Madagascar in the Indian Ocean is the biggest island in Africa. Madagascar is also the fourth largest island in the world. The Nile is the longest river in the world and passes through 11 countries. The river mouth is in Egypt. The highest mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro, is in Tanzania. The highest peak of the mountain, Kibu, is also called Uhuru Peak, which is 19,340 feet, is located in the Tanzanian highlands. Africa's largest lake, Lake Victoria, is also the world's second largest freshwater lake. The Sahara in the northern Africa is the largest hot desert in the world. The climate is extremely dry in this region. It is estimated that 2,000 different languages are spoken on the African continent. Many Africans speak several African languages and also often another European language. In many countries, people speak English, French or Portuguese as an additional language, as these languages are often used in communication and business. English is widely spoken in Africa as many countries were formerly British colonies. Arabic, the language spoken in the northern Africa, is also used as official language. Most of the African people are Christians and Muslims. In North Africa and many West African countries, most people follow the Islam. There are almost 10% of the Africans that follow traditional religious rituals, which means they have traditional healing rituals such as bone throwing, magic and herbal medicine, and celebrating the spirit of ancestors. Out of the 7 countries, now let's look about North America, which is the third largest continent in size and the fourth largest when we consider population. There are 23 countries in North America and 9 dependencies with a total of more than 590 million people living on the continent. Largest country is Canada. The country is covering almost half the North American continent's land area. Largest city of North America is Mexico City, which is the capital city of Mexico with a population of about 9 million. The smallest country is St. Kitts and Nevis with only 54,000 inhabitants. The island is located in the Caribbean Sea. The least populated dependency is Montserrat, a British overseas territory with less than 6,000 inhabitants. Greenland is the world's largest island. Greenland is located in North Atlantic Ocean. Longest river of North America is Missouri River. The Missouri River flows through 7 states of the USA: Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas and Missouri. Together with the Mississippi River, it forms one of the largest river systems in the world. Highest mountain is Denali in Alaska. Denali is considered the third most isolated mountain peak in the world of the world's 7 summits after Mount Everest and Anaconda. The 7 summits are the highest mountain peaks or summits of each continent. Biggest lake is Lake Superior. This is the largest of the Great Lakes in the USA. Lake Superior is also considered the largest freshwater lake by area in the world. The lowest point is Death Valley. in the Death Valley National Park, you will not only find the lowest point in North America with 86 meter below sea level, but this is also the hottest and driest national park in the USA. North America was first populated about 10,000 years ago when people moved across the Bering Sea between Siberia and Alaska. First records are found on the island of Greenland from about 980. Indigenous people lived in various clusters from small family groups to large empires across the whole continent. The European explorers arrived in large number only after Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. There were power struggles between colonizers from England, France and Spain, as well as revolution of the local indigenous people, which later led to the creation of different independent states. Before the Europeans arrived in North America, the indigenous and Native Americans were the people who lived on the continent. Today, the biggest group of Native Americans are Cherokee, Navajo and Iroquois people. Only 2% of all US Americans consider themselves as Native Americans. In Canada, among the indigenous people are the First Nations people, the Inuit and Métis. In Mexico, the largest indigenous minority groups belongs to the modern Mayan people, such as Yucatan or Campeche people. Mayan or mixed Mayan people are also among the largest ethnic groups in other countries. Many of the descendants of the Mayan people live also in Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador and Honduras. English is most widely spoken in North America. Spanish and French are spoken by many as second language in the USA. While Spanish is the most common first language in the Caribbean, French is the first language of 20% of the Canadian population. Most of the North American people are Christians, that is 75%. Others are Muslims, Jews, and some indigenous people have their own indigenous beliefs. Now we have South America to discuss in detail. South America is the fourth largest continent in size and the fifth largest when we consider population. The continent is located in the western hemisphere and mainly in the southern hemisphere. There are 12 countries in South America and 3 dependencies with a total of more than 385 million people living on the continent. The largest country is Brazil, whereas the largest city is Sao Paulo in Brazil. The smallest country is Suriname and the biggest island is Terra del Fuego as the southern tip of Argentina and Chile. The country is one of the 10 most sparsely populated countries in the world. The longest river, Amazon River, which is 6,437 meters or 4,000 miles. The Amazon is not only the second longest river in the world after the Nile, but also the Amazon carries more water than the world's other 10 biggest rivers combined. Highest mountain is Aconcagua in Argentina. The mountain is located in the Andes mountain range. Biggest lake is Lake Titicaca. While South America's rainforests also are some of the wettest places on the earth, the Atacama Desert in Chile is considered the driest place on earth. Evidence of human life in South America dates back to 9000 BC. One of the earliest South American civilizations are recorded in Peru. South America was colonized from the late 15th century by foreign conquerors, mainly from Spain and Portugal, but also from Dutch, British and French. The Incas were the largest group of indigenous people in South America when the Europeans arrived. The Inca Empire lasted from 1438 until 1533. Indigenous cultures still are present in South America, but the numbers are diminishing. There are still Arawaks and Caribs in Venezuela as well as Guarani in Brazil. Spanish is the main language in South American countries. Only in Brazil, people speak Portuguese, and in Suriname, formerly a Dutch colony, the official language is still Dutch. Many people speak also English as a second language. Quechua, the language spoken by the Inca, is the most common indigenous language. Most of the South American peoples are Catholic, that is 90%. Some Protestants, Jews, and some indigenous people have their own indigenous beliefs. South America's landscape is dominated from mountains and highlands such as the Andes, the river basins such as the Amazon and Orinoco, and the coastal plains where the Atacama Desert also belongs to. So, South America is clear. Now, we have the fifth continent, which is the least populated continent, and that is Antarctica. The word Antarctica comes from the Greek word Antarctica, meaning the opposite of Arctic or opposite to north. According to size, Antarctica is the fifth largest continent of our planet. The continent is almost double the size of Australia. Antarctica is an ice-covered continent surrounded by the Southern Ocean. Almost all of the continent's land is covered by a thick layer of ice. Antarctica is the driest continent of the 7 continents. Antarctica is an icy desert with very little rainfall throughout the year. This is the windiest place on earth where wind speed of more than 350 kilometers per hour or 218 miles per hour have been measured. Antarctica is the least populated continent. There are no residents living permanently here. Only around 1,000 people in winter and 10,000 people in summer live on the continent. These people are mainly based there for 1 year to live and work in the research stations. The research stations are scattered all around the continent. The Antarctic Treaty, which came into force in 1961, is now signed by 53 countries. The treaty regulates the international relations between all countries to support scientific operations on the ice. Article 1 of the Antarctic Treaty states that the area is to be used for peaceful purposes only. According to the Antarctic Treaty, Antarctica refers to the land and ice shelves from 60 degrees south of the equator. There are 80 countries who regularly send scientists and researchers to the various stations on the continent. The most and biggest stations are held by the USA, Russia, Chile, Argentina, and Australia. The largest research station is McMurdo Station, which is an research center. There are more than 1,000 scientists work on various research projects during summertime. Antarctica has the highest average elevation of all continents. Most of the continent is higher than 3,000 meters or 9,900 feet above sea level. The highest mountain on Antarctica is Mount Vinson at 4,900 meters or 16,000 feet. The few areas where there is no or only little ice throughout the year are located in the most northern parts of the continent. There, one will find also the typical tundra vegetation. Typical tundra plants are small shrubs, grasses, and mosses. There are not only many species living on the Antarctic continents. Whales and seals live in the southern ocean surrounding Antarctica. The emperor penguin are the only penguin species breeding on Antarctica. Emperor penguin are the tallest and heaviest of all penguin species. They grow to over 120 cm in height and weight up to 45 kilograms. These penguins feed on krill, fish and squid. The penguin colonies on Antarctica usually contain thousands of penguins. On Antarctica, there are about 5 million penguins. Antarctica is the coldest continent on our planet. The coldest air temperature ever measured in Antarctica was minus 89.2 degrees Celsius at Vostok Station in 1983. Along the Antarctic coast, the average temperature is minus 10 degrees Celsius. The coastline has the warmest temperature of the continent. The geographic South Pole is located more than 1,235 kilometer miles from the coast on a plateau 2,800 meters above sea level. About 40,000 tourists from around the world visit Antarctica every year on polar cruises and exploration trips. Antarctica contains more than 90% of world's ice and more than 90% of our planet's fresh water. The European continent is located completely in the northern hemisphere and mainly in the eastern hemisphere. Europe borders on to Arctic Ocean in the north and the Atlantic Ocean in the west and the Mediterranean Sea in the south. There are 50 countries in Europe with a total of more than 742 million people living on the continent. The European part of Russia covers more area than any other countries. The three largest countries are Russia, Ukraine and France. Moscow is the largest city that is entirely on the European continent. Vatican City is the smallest country not only in Europe but also in the world. The city-state and enclave within Italy is the smallest country both by population and by size. Greenland is the largest island which belongs to Europe and is commonly referred to as the largest island in the world. The biggest island in Europe is Great Britain or UK. Hum in Croatia is the smallest town not only in Europe but in the world. The town has only 21 inhabitants. Istanbul, the biggest city in Turkey, is commonly referred to as Europe's largest city. However, Istanbul is located on two continents. The western part belongs to Europe while the eastern part belongs to the Asian continent. Istanbul houses about 17 million people. The most densely populated country is Monaco. Europe is the continent with the highest population density, which means on the European continent lives the biggest number of people per square kilometers. Kazakhstan is the largest landlocked country in Europe and in the world. Mount Elbrus in Russia is the highest mountain in Europe. The highest peak in the European Alps is Mount Blanc. The Alps are also the longest and highest mountain range that is located entirely in Europe. The Volga River in Russia is Europe's longest river. Most important commercial waterway is Danube. The port of Rotterdam in the Netherlands is the largest and busiest container port in Europe. Norway has the longest coastline in Europe with over 100,000 kilometers and it is the second longest in the world. Lake Ladoga near St. Petersburg in Russia is Europe's biggest lake and one of the world's largest freshwater lake. The Rhine Falls in Switzerland is the largest plain waterfall in Europe. Most European languages belong to either the Romance language, the Germanic language, or the Slavic languages. Russian is the language with most native speakers, while English as a lingua franca is the language spoken by most people as the first and second language. The five most spoken native languages in Europe are Russian, German, French, English, Turkish and Italian. Most of the European people are Christians and there are smaller number of Muslims and Jews and other beliefs. About 80% of all Europeans consider themselves as atheists or not religious. About 39% of the land area in Europe is grassland and are used for growing crops. 5 out of the 10 tourist destinations in the world are located in Europe. France is the number 1 tourist destination in the world. with about 90 million international tourist arrivals per year. The last continent, which is also the smallest continent and named as Oceania or Australia. Oceania is the smallest continent of our planet, considering the landmass. Australia, which is a part of Oceania, is often referred to as the continent, but we use Oceania or Australia to include also the islands surrounding Australia, as they otherwise would not be included in the traditional seven continent model. Oceania is a continental group consisting of numerous countries and include Pacific Islands and Australia. Oceania includes 14 countries in which the largest island is Australia. Oceania spread over a vast area from 28 degrees north in the northern hemisphere to 55 degrees south in the southern hemisphere. Oceania's biggest and most populous city is Sydney. Australia is the biggest and leading economy on the continent. New Zealand is the only other large economy of the continent. Mining, manufacturing and tourism are the main economic sectors of the region. The highest mountain on the land is Mount Cook in New Zealand. The mountain, which is referred to also as Oraki, is 3,754 meters high. In Australia, there are rainforest and desert as well as dry forest, whereas in New Zealand, there are alpine region with only sparse vegetation such as the southern Alps with the glaciers. The Pacific Ocean islands have a tropical vegetation with tropical rainforests and palm trees. In Australia, the largest country of the continent, there are many marsupials. Marsupials are mammals that carry their young in their pouch. Among them are kangaroos, possums, wombat and koalas. A large variety of birds also live in Oceania, such as the Australian kookaburra or the colorful kingfishers and birds of paradise. Most people in Oceania describe themselves as Christians. Other religions practiced are Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism, Jainism and Baha'i. The traditional tribes often also believe in spirits and natural forces. Rugby is the most popular sport in the region. In Australia, the national sport is cricket. Vanuatu is the only country in Oceania that names soccer or football as their national sports. Australian indigenous rock art has the longest tradition in the world. Aboriginal paintings date back more than 60,000 years and this art form is still practiced by indigenous people in Australia. So, we have covered all the 7 continents now.